Hey everybody, welcome back to Salty Language Podcast presents Brian Sports whatever. This week, um, I'm gonna just gonna do what we did last time, jump around to various topics, kind of shoot the breeze about them, and then do a little whatnot. Try to keep it fairly short, but whatever. Let's jump in. Obviously, the first big story this weekend's the Super Bowl. Over on the podcast, Salty Language, available on iTunes and various other places. Um, Tony and I both picked the Giants across the board against the points, as the Giants are 3-point underdogs right now, and we just feel that the game may be that close. So we went with the Giants. I'll tell you, I can't shake the feeling that the Patriots are going to win, but I'll hold to my pick. Looks like Gronkowski's going to play, which, big surprise. Nobody really thought he was going to miss the game. Um, so if he's going to play, the question will be, how effective he is on that ankle, because it sounds like it's a high ankle sprain. I've read a couple things that say that he might need surgery after the season or whatever, but, we'll see. The other big NFL news is Peyton Manning's doctors have cleared him to resume his career, but the owner of the Colts has said that he's not passed any tests from the Colts doctors that'll allow him to play. I guess the nerves in his triceps still haven't regenerated from the surgery yet. So they don't know. He's just going to keep throwing and keep doing what he's been doing and whatever. They're supposed to meet before too long and, figure something out here, which I don't know. I'm with everybody else. I think this is just going to lead to the Colts and Peyton Manning separating. And the real question will be what's going to happen to him afterwards. So, but, we'll see. We'll see what happens there first. I'll get into that if that happens. Jump over to basketball here, and boy, I'll tell you, there was a bunch earlier in the week. There was a ton of buzz about this Blake Griffin dunk over Kendrick Perkins of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, you can find it out right here on YouTube. Just have a look-see around. Just type in, like, Griffin dunk Perkins or something like that. And it's another one where Griffin throws the ball through the hoop, like, super, super hard. And it's not a standard type of dunk. He isn't on the rim or anything. He's basically above the rim and then throws the ball down through the hoop. I mean, it's still pretty impressive about how aggressive the play is. And I don't know. I mean, it's impressive, but there were people talking about how it's like, the greatest dunk ever and all this, and I was like, yeah, slow down. Like, that's a little overreacting, because there's some way better dunks of smaller guys dunking over bigger guys, or Vince Carter jumping over a man at the Olympics is still the number one dunk of all time in my opinion, but or one of those like Jordan at the free throw line, the dunk contest, but whatever. So speaking of the NBA, and this is going to kind of jump around to a few sports here a little bit, is the All-Star starters were named, and pretty much the West is like all LA players, half Lakers. It's Kobe and Andrew Bynum of the Lakers, and it's Chris Paul and Blake Griffin of the Clippers, and then Kevin Durant as the other player from the Thunder. And it's interesting how 4 of the 5 players are from LA, and I don't know. It's just interesting to me. This is going to turn out to be. I mean, the real thing I wanted to talk about here was that the NBA All Star Weekend. It's like I love watching the skills contest, just like the NHL All Star Game was just this past weekend, and it's the same thing. I love the skills contest. Although the NHL's got a little bit to work on with theirs, they added some new ones that were kind of hit or miss, but. I'm not a huge fan of the dunk contest, but the skills challenge where the guys have to dribble the ball around and all this other stuff, the three-point shooting, all that kind of stuff, I think can be really compelling. But the games themselves are the basketball one is basically a pickup game of basketball. The NFL's Pro Bowl game has turned into a joke. Like, guys didn't even look like they were trying on some of the plays this year. And they don't want to hit. They're not blitzing because they can't. It's almost become a joke. I'd rather see the NFL go back to They used to do skills contests for them NFL. I would love to see them bring that back and just scrap the Pro Bowl game. Give the guys a trip to Hawaii or whatever. Let them do the cool stuff, and then just scrap the game. Um, and the NHL, I mean, the NHL game was 12-9. Hockey games rarely end up with a score like that. And these guys are, they're the best of the best, but there's no defense being played. They don't hit, they don't forecheck a lot, they don't, they pretty much don't do anything that would be done in a normal game to disrupt the offensive flow. And as a result, you get a 12-9 game, which can be exciting, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of done with it. And the only one of the sports that seems to get it right is baseball. The Major League Baseball's All-Star game, except for the one baloney year when it ended in a tie. The players play in that game. I mean, they go out, they really they hustle, they're really trying. The managers are actually making actual decisions, about switching players and all this kind of stuff and getting matchups and all those kind of things. And the only thing that gets in the way of that is a lot of teams don't like their pitchers being used in all-star games because that's just extra innings on their pitchers' arms. And, pitchers are such a valuable commodity in baseball. You just don't want to run the risk of your guy throwing his, messing his arm up or something. So, anyways, enough about the All-Star baloney. I saw the other day that Jim Tressel took a job for Akron. And at first I was like, wow, he's got that 5-year, the NCAA, because of his violations with Ohio State, put a 5-year, I forgot what it's called. But anyways, basically within 5 years, he can still be disciplined by the NCAA for his involvement in that stuff. So any school that were to hire him could run the risk of him being suspended. Well, Akron hired him to a non-athletic job so he doesn't have to worry about this. But, and now whatever, I don't care. I mean, I'm a little surprised he didn't end up as an NFL assistant somewhere. But what really kind of strikes me out about this is that the whole, this job was invented for him. And it sounds like it's some consultation thing, and that's great. And, and he gave some bull speech the other day about how all he's ever done is had the kids' interest and best interest at heart and all this kind of stuff. And for the most part, I'd say he did. But when you know that you have players that have violated the NCAA rules, you allow them to play anyways. That's not keeping the kids' interest at heart. That's keeping your team's interest at heart. So whatever. But that's all old. I'm not going to really delve into that. But it just kind of struck me as odd that a guy who had the prestige he did, that Akron, which is where he coached before, or no, I'm sorry, he didn't coach at Akron, but they coached at Youngstown. They created this job for him, and I don't know, it just, something about it's just weird to me. I don't know. It's probably fine. It's just, I don't know. It just struck me as odd, and and the other thing with college sports here lately is there's been some stuff going on that Urban Meyer hasn't, maybe been recruiting within the rules, and it's like, he had various SEC coaches report him for not recruiting within the rules. But to the best of my knowledge, I'm pretty sure he never got in trouble for any of it. So he's either incredibly good at cheating or he's not. I really don't know which. And the way that college athletics is now, I think you got to be really good at cheating. And if you get caught, you get caught. But it's kind of the old, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And I just think he might be better at it than the other coaches, But hey, you can't argue with the talent the guy brought into Florida or to Bowling Green or to Utah when he was there. All he's done is bring in really good players, and he's had success everywhere he's gone. So, and Ohio State brings its own prestige because it's Ohio State and it's Big Ten football, and you pair him with that, and it's kind of like Tressel. Tressel's the same thing. He's a great recruiter, So when you have a great recruiter, prestige at the school, you're going to get top level talent. So I wouldn't at all be surprised, if, like I said, I don't really know if he's cheating or not. We may never know. Who knows? My feeling is the other schools should just, quit whining about it, unless it's something blatant. If it's blatant, deal with it, but otherwise, step it up. And for the record, I'm a Michigan fan, not an Ohio State guy. So in case you didn't already know that, um, let's see. And I think the last point I got here is from baseball this week. Is that I think it was yesterday. Deadspin.com reported that Josh Hamilton, the former MVP and All-Star center fielder for the Texas Rangers, well, actually I think he's a left fielder now, that he had a relapse on he fell off the wagon. He's a recovering alcoholic, and that Monday night he was somewhere and he had, I believe it was reported, 3 to 4 drinks. And, he scheduled a press conference today, came out, apologized, and the Rangers have basically said that they're just going to, they've talked with him. They're going to make sure that his support system is in place, and then pretty much that's the end of it for them. They don't feel that it's major enough to, try to avoid his contract or anything like that. And I'm like, I'm not a former alcoholic, and I do understand that, when you have somebody who's a former alcoholic, they have to look at life or at alcohol with a zero tolerance. Like, they can't let themselves slip because they don't want to run the risk of falling back into what they've dealt with. But the way that this has been treated a little bit was, you'd swear this guy killed someone. Now, don't get me wrong, if he had been drinking and drove, now I have a problem with it. If he had 3 to 4 beers, which is, again, that's what's reported, if he had 3 to 4 drinks, it's like, look, he slipped, he's human. When you're that level of an athlete, it cannot be easy to avoid bars, clubs, hanging out with your teammates, all these kind of things to where alcohol is going to be right there, and, it's not an easy fight. A lot of people have issues dealing with alcoholism, and whatever. Maybe he does need to re-emphasize to his support system that, hey, I can't go to these places and this kind of stuff, but who knows, maybe he thought he was strong enough to go to a place, walked in, and obviously he wasn't. But I don't know. My feeling on this is the guy's human. Hey, ESPN, get off his back. There's various ESPN reporters that through Twitter and stuff have talked about how they don't even feel that Deadspin should report this. And honestly, I agree. This has nothing to do with the guy's baseball playing, at least now. Next year when he's a free agent, well, then it might, because, maybe a team is afraid that, because this is the second time I think in the last 2 years that he's fallen off the wagon. Maybe, a team's a little afraid that he'll fall off or something. But again, I don't know. I think if you're a recovering alcoholic and 2 times in 2 years you've fallen off the wagon, it's not perfect, but I don't know. Out of, 730 days or whatever, if you've had alcohol twice, that's a pretty good run. So, I don't know. But that's all I got, I think. So, check out the podcast every Monday. Salty Language. Check us out on iTunes. Look at us on here. We'll throw some links up. I'll put one down underneath this when this goes up. Like I said, have a listen to us. You can stream us on Stitcher if you do that. If you got any questions, send them to saltylanguage@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, all that. We're on Tumblr. Like I said, I'll have a link to our main page here that can get you all the deets. So I'll see y'all next week.